Now, from Into Tomorrow, this is an ITTV special report.
Our next guest is paving the way for smarter products and services in the consumer electronics industry, and since that's what we report on exclusively for 15 years now, we know the industry can use some smarter products and services. He is the general manager for global electronics industry with IBM Corp, Bruce Anderson. Bruce, welcome back Into Tomorrow. How are you?
I'm doing well, Dave. Thanks for having me back again.
Always good to see you. We seem to catch up around the world. Here we are again in Berlin and catching up with you. IBM, of course, another big presence here at IFA. One of our keynote speeches was one of your key senior execs, etc., and talking all about these smarter products and services. Can you give me an idea what it is that IBM's bringing to help the industry?
Well, as you take a look at what it takes to deliver a smarter product or a smarter service, it really means that we're going to see things that are more interconnected and even more intelligent in terms of the way the devices operate. So as we think about both the consumer experience with the device, be it a washing machine, be it a television, there's also the service angle as well. Sometimes these things don't always keep working, and sometimes the manufacturers have to get back involved with the device, and there's a huge amount of cost in that. So the same way that we're using that internet connection or whatever connection they have to the device, we're also using that to see what's wrong inside the device and doing that remotely, changing the fundamental economics of how service is delivered in the consumer electronics industry.
Wow, and what a perfect opportunity for us as consumers to say, maybe in the future I don't need to pay so frequently for service calls or things like that. If the company can dial into my toaster or whatever it is and say, oh, here you go, we fixed it remotely and it's a minimal charge versus having to send somebody out.
If you take a look at, say, the cell phone industry, you're seeing literally billions of dollars of cost in reverse logistics when people are just unhappy with the product.
Yeah.
It's totally wiping out all the profit, definitely for that sale, but in some cases for an entire model. And when we take a look at when there's nothing wrong with the device, that's a high percentage of what the companies find out after they have a chance to look at it. So it's very key that they get involved with that consumer experience when they're frustrated, and get in front of that and make sure they get the right answers, and if they can, remotely diagnose, remotely fix these kinds of problems. There's literally billions of dollars in cost that the industry can take out if they're able to successfully do that. And we think they can ride the same connection they're using to deliver content and other things to essentially use that to fix the device as well.
And I think as well they should, because all of these things where you're mentioning saving the industry billions of dollars in so doing ends up helping us as consumers. I'm always trying to tie things into, what's in it for us, and there's a good example.
Yeah, it absolutely does. When you purchase a product and you brought it home and you're trying to use it and it's not working, you're in your basement and you're looking for the documentation, and it's just total frustration because you just want to have whatever experience, clean clothes or internet content on your television, whatever it is you want.
Yeah.
You just want it to work. And calling up a 1-800 number and working your way through all of the different paths that are set up for you, it's just not a lot of fun.
Assuming you even get anyone that speaks the language.
That's true.
So there are all those issues, whereas if it's all zeros and ones and it's a digital kind of connection to get something resolved, that's wonderful. I mean, just tell me how to connect it, or just dial into my washing machine and make it happen.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of other money, in addition to fixing it more cheaply for the consumer electronics companies. There's also value in it for their engineers, because as we see the way the product is behaving out in the field, you won't get surprised. We've seen different products get introduced where, say, the camera didn't work or the antenna was dropping phone calls, things along those lines.
Good example.
The consumers are already talking about this, and the buzz that is created over social networking is enough to defeat a product. And the poor engineer is back there not realizing what it is that's going wrong.
Yeah.
Now imagine if he can see exactly how inside the device, how the device is being used, get in front of those problems, get the manufacturing fixed, get the next version of that device out there very, very quickly, proactively contact the consumer, apologize, and make sure that they're going to have a better experience the next time with that company's products.
Yeah, I'm loving that example too, because it's all about really trying to understand in many cases what the consumer is talking about. And from a tech standpoint, it's like, they're not describing the problem, so I'm not sure how to fix it. They're saying something that it's not, or it can't possibly be doing, or that sort of thing. So diagnosing it themselves. Hold on, let me just take a look. got it. Now here's how we fix it.
As you look at the products that we're releasing to the market first, the amount of software in these that is embedded in these products has gone up astronomically. No longer is this a problem of electronics. This is really a problem of massive amounts of software that are being remotely deployed on all these mobile devices and things we're putting out there. And to top it off, we expect all these things to connect over the internet, right? Well, that relies on the cellular network or the broadband network or however we're getting that connection made. So to really know at a point in time how the device is being used exactly and understand what those sensors inside the device are seeing, that's critical. And so as companies start to move their service operations from this 1-800 number that is frustrating consumers and really think about that service experience, we think it's going to be a competitive differentiator for the consumer electronics companies. If you're known for high quality service and known for not really creating any hassles for the consumer.
Yeah. And folks like us won't be afraid to buy version 1 of something cool that we want because we know that IBM's helping make it easy for them to support the product.
That's very true. And you know, we can't talk about all the people that we support today. Very often IBM is on the inside of products and in the background. But you know, IBM is delivering service for consumer electronics companies in 170 countries around the world. In the background, right? You know, answering the phone and routing the calls and making sure that if there's remote diagnoses that can be made, that's the kind of thing that we wind up doing for these clients to help them enable this service in addition to providing technology.
Now you're doing a lot of smarter home demos here at IFA. So what's IBM doing? First of all, what is a smarter home?
Well, as you take a look at it, as we've seen home automation progress over the years, it's gotten sort of a lukewarm reception. We believe that part of that was it wasn't very intuitive for the consumer. We've worked very hard to make sure that those interfaces are as intuitive as possible. So there are people in our booth that are showing off very advanced interfaces and how to control graphically all the things that you've invested in terms of sensors and other things in your home in order to lock the doors, in order to change the energy use, in order to monitor the refrigerator, etc. So it's more than just the entertainment angle. It could be safety and security. It could be convenience items. It could be a lot of different things they can monitor. But the key is you may want to do this remotely. So imagine you're going to be away for a while and you want to make sure you can still remotely monitor that your house is locked up, that the heat is appropriate, etc. Those are the kinds of things that we're making simpler. Because if you try to use some of the products that are out there today, it's pretty complicated. And personally, I don't want to learn all of that in order to have my home be safe.
These are things that are supposed to make our lives easier and less complicated, and we tend to get more complicated. So good points. It should be a piece of cake. Plug it in, turn it on, it does what it does. I don't care how.
Right, and there's a lot of smaller consumer electronics companies that have trouble affording all the infrastructure and design, you know, that goes into these kinds of services that they could provide. So IBM is actually offering a common platform that they can simply plug into. And when we do that, you know, some of the larger firms that are here have entire buildings at IFA. They probably are going to put out their own standards and their own way of doing things. But I think there's an awful lot of companies around here that could really use some help in terms of understanding how to play with the big boys and really deliver a lot of the same functionality and compete on the basis of that functionality.
You want to hit up IBM.com/electronics for the special things that Bruce and his team are working on. Bruce Anderson, thanks as always for spending a few minutes with us, especially here at IFA, and thank you for sharing what's just some of the many things IBM's working on for us.
Thanks, Dave.
We're back with more from Berlin, Germany. I'm Dave Graveline. Into Tomorrow continues on the Advanced Media Network.